Good morning, everyone. Boker Tov. I'm on the way to synagogue to our daily morning minyan for Shachris, the morning service at 8 a.m. And what is the origin of the morning prayer each and every day for a Jew? It's in this week's Torah portion. When Abraham prays to God to spare the wicked cities of Sodom and Gomorrah, it says, Vayashkim Avram Baboker. Abraham awoke early in the morning and he went to pray before God to spare the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah. And our rabbis say Abraham was the one who instituted the morning service, the daily morning prayers of Shacharit. And I believe there are many lessons we can learn from the fact that it was Abraham 3,700 years ago who instituted the daily morning prayer of Shacharit that Jews till this day pray. The first lesson and the obvious lesson is that when Abraham went to pray, he wasn't praying for himself. He was praying for others out of compassion, out of empathy, out of care and concern. And the first lesson is when we get up every morning to pray, it's not that we're praying for ourselves. Of course, we ask for our needs as well, but primarily we get up in the morning and we start our day by thinking about others, by showing love and compassion and empathy for the needs of others, even those who may not be righteous like the wicked people of Sodom and Gomorrah. The second lesson we can learn from this story is that when Abraham prays to God, he introduces his prayer by saying, I want to ask something from God. I want to pray to God. Va'anochi afar ve'efar, but I'm but dust and ashes. He says, I'm nothing. I'm dust and ashes. He shows humility. And that's the second lesson we can learn. When we come before God, we can't come with arrogance, with a sense of entitlement. But what we're saying is, God, it's not out of my deservedness, because I'm but dust and ashes, but it's out of your compassion and your goodness that you should bestow and answer my prayers. And finally, Rashi says, why did he specifically say dust and ashes? And Rashi says that Abraham was saying is, I don't even deserve to be alive. Why? Because you saved my life twice. Afar, I am but dust. When I went to rescue my nephew Lot, I should have been killed in that war. And I would have been dust. I would have been dead in the ground. But you saved me, and that's why I'm here. And Afer, ashes, when Nimrod threw me into the furnace because I refused to bow to his gods, the Midrash says you saved me there as well. So I should have been dust and ashes literally, but I'm only here because of you. And if I'm here, I'm going to pray for others. One of the most famous songs of all time is Hello Darkness. And the story behind it is so powerful. It's the song from Art Garfunkel and Paul Simon. And it's about Art Garfunkel, who had a college roommate by the name of Sandy Greenberg in Columbia University who suddenly went blind. And he dropped out of school and he went back to his home in Buffalo. And Art Garfunkel went to Buffalo and said, I'm here for you. Come back to school. I will take you to class. I will read to you the subject matters. And it was about that friendship, and he would call himself Hello Darkness to empathize with his friend Sandy Greenberg, to show compassion for him and say, darkness is going to read to you, to be with him in his plight, in his circumstances. Well, he went on to write a song with Paul Simon about this friendship with Sandy Greenberg, and they became one of the greatest duos, selling over 100 million copies. But about 10 years ago, they had a terrible, terrible falling out, when Art Garfunkel said some horrible things about Paul Simon publicly to a reporter, calling him an idiot and calling him a jerk, and saying that he only befriended him because he's short and he has a Napoleon complex, and now he turned into a monster. And for 10 years they stopped talking to each other. Well, just 2 weeks ago, the family of Paul Simon arranged for a lunch between Art Garfunkel and Paul Simon. And Paul Simon agreed to go to lunch with Art Garfunkel despite the terrible things he said about him publicly. And Art Garfunkel apologized to Paul Simon, and they reunited as friends as Paul Simon forgave him. And there's even talks that maybe they will go back on the road and perform once again. And this is a story about forgiveness, about compassion, about empathy, about humility, showing that we can recognize our mistakes. And that's what Abraham's morning prayer is all about. It's about asking God to forgive. the mistakes that the people of Sodom and Gomorrah made, and about showing humility in the presence of God and saying, God, I may not deserve this, but please have compassion. Art Garfunkel showed tremendous compassion and empathy towards his friend Sandy Greenberg, and he was rewarded that it was reciprocated when Paul Simon showed him the meaning of friendship, that he was able to forgive him despite what he had said about him. The story of Sodom and Gomorrah teaches us never give up on other human beings. Have a wonderful day.